Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make vanilla cupcakes, and then we're going to cover them with a buttery confectioner frosting. So the first thing you need to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 180 degrees Celsius, and then line a 12-cup muffin pan with paper liners, or you could just butter or spray the muffin cups with a nonstick spray. And then the first thing we need to do is mix our dry ingredients together. So what I have here in a separate bowl is 1.5 cups, which is 195 grams of white all-purpose flour. And to that, I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder and just 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm just going to grate over the top. We need the zest of 1 small lemon. And if you have one of these microplanes, it makes easy work. And what you want to do is just the outer yellow skin. You don't want the white underneath because that's kind of bitter. We just want the skin. Make sure to really wash your lemons first. And if possible, buy organic lemons, they're the best. And the lemon will really perk up all the flavors in this cupcake. So. Okay, so you could either sift, or I'm just going to use a wire whisk and just whisk everything together, because you want to make sure that that baking powder is really mixed into the flour. Okay, and that's our dry ingredients. If you have an electric stand mixer like this, use the paddle attachment, or you could just use a hand mixer. And the first thing is 1/2 cup, which is about 113 grams of butter, and have your butter at room temperature. And I'm using unsalted butter because I like the flavor better. If you use salted butter, then I would leave out that 1/4 teaspoon that I had added to the flour mixture. And the first thing is just beat your butter just for like a minute until it's nice and creamy and smooth. Okay, scrape down as you need to. And then add 2/3 of a cup, which is about 130 grams of white granulated sugar. And then we're going to mix this until it's light and fluffy on medium, high speed. That will take about a couple minutes for that. Okay, that's what you're looking for, just to get some air into that butter and sugar. So I'll just scrape down the sides of your bowl. And then we're going to add 3 large eggs, have them at room temperature, and add them one at a time. Beat one in and then add the next one. Scrape down the sides as you need to. Now, because we added so many eggs, the batter does curdle. So don't worry if you notice that it'll all smooth out once we add the flour mixture. So now, we're going to flavor it with 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Just beat that in. As you can see, this is basically a white cake batter that we're just making into cupcakes. And that's usually what a cupcake is, just a regular cake batter, but baked in individual servings. So now, we're going to add the flour mixture alternately with 1/4 cup of milk. So what I'm going to do is just add about 1/3 of the flour mixture and beat that in. Just do this at low speed to begin with because you don't want that flour coming up in your face. And then add about 1/2 of your milk. Sure this is all mixed in. And then add 1/2 of this, the flour. And then the rest of your milk. And the rest of the flour. Scrape down as you need to. Okay, and we're done. You just want to beat it just until the flour is mixed in. Don't keep beating it because then that will result in the cake being a little tough. So if you have a little flour like I have here, just use your spatula and just stir that in. And okay, so now we're going to put the batter in our muffin cups. I'm going to use an ice cream scoop. You could just use 2 spoons as well. Try to evenly divide the batter. Just even that out. Okay, that's good. So we're going to bake these between 17 and 20 minutes. Now, what you don't want to do is overbake your cupcakes because then they're dry and crumbly. So what I would do is check them at about the 14 to 15 minutes. Because ideally what you want to do is the first time you put your toothpick into the center, you want it to have like a few moist crumbs. Because that means that, oh, you only have like a minute or 2 left of baking. The problem is if when you check them the first time and your toothpick comes out clean, that could actually mean they are overbaked. So check them at about 14 to 15 minutes, and they're usually done between 17 and 20. Okay, our vanilla cupcakes are now done. So what we need to do is let them cool completely, and then we will start the confectioner frosting. So now we'll make the confectioner frosting, or maybe you know it as an easy buttercream frosting. So if you have a stand mixer like this, use the paddle attachment, and you will need 1/2 cup, 113 grams of butter, and have that at room temperature. I'm using unsalted because I like the taste, but you could use salted as well. And I'm just going to beat this just until it's nice and creamy and smooth. Okay. And then add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract and just beat that in. And then we're going to gradually add 2 cups, that's 230 grams of confectioner sugar, or you may know that as either powdered or icing sugar, and sift that first because powdered sugar usually has lumps, and we don't want a lumpy frosting, so make sure you sift it. So I'm going to add this gradually, a little at a time, and have it at low speed because you don't want that sugar flying up in your face. Oops. And once that's almost beaten in, then add a little more sugar until it's all beaten in, it's nice and smooth. And the last bit. And now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of either milk or cream, which either one. And I'm going to beat that till it's all mixed in. And then I'm going to increase the speed to medium-high, and beat it about 3 to 4 minutes until it's really nice and light and fluffy and of piping consistency. Okay, so frosting is done. So, as you can see, it's really light and fluffy. This is what you're looking for. If you found it too thick, then add a little more milk. If you found it too thin, then just add a little more sugar. But what you want, you beat it for so long because you really want a lot of air whipped in there, and then it gets really nice and light and fluffy. Now, you could use it this color, like just off-white, or if you want, you can color your frosting. So I'm using these gel pastes. They come in just a little container. You can buy them like cake decorating stores or Michael's or Joann's. And a little goes a long way, and they're quite intense, really nice intense colors. I'm using I think it's a cornflower blue color. Be very careful because it dyes. And I mean, the amount you use will give you whatever light or dark shade you want. You want to make sure that that's all beaten in, that there's no streaks of the coloring. Okay, looks good. So for frosting your cupcakes, I usually, just for every day, I just take the cupcake and take either a knife or a spatula and I just spread it on there. I like a little frosting, but I personally don't like too much. I like to enjoy the cake. So let's do it like that. And you could add some sprinkles or a little candy on top. But if you want to do it more like all the bakeries are doing and pipe, what I have here is a piping bag fitted with a star tip. There's all different types of tips depending on what design. And if you're new at this, you might want to have a glass and then just put your piping bag in there, like so. And you can buy, this is like a reusable one, you can buy like plastic piping bags that you can just throw out, or you could even just use the like a Ziploc bag. And then just put in your frosting into your piping bag. Now, some people have said that their frosting gets too soft. If that happens, you could just pop it in the fridge for, 5-10 minutes for it to harden up a bit if you find it's not piping nicely. So what you do is just make sure you squeeze all the frosting down to the end. You want to get all the air out of the bag. And then once you see it come out the end, just twist and then hold it with one hand and then the other hand you use as a guide. Now, sometimes I like to remove the paper liners and then just have, it looks like a little cute little cake. And you use even pressure. It takes a little practice, so don't, if you have a little trouble at the beginning, that's normal. And you can just start on the outside and just pipe around. Even pressure, and then stop, and then lift up. And then if you want to decorate the top, like so. Let's do one more for you. I start around the outside of the cupcake, and just even pressure around. Of course, you can pile it as high as you want. Some people like a lot of frosting, and then like so. These are at their best the day they are made, but you can cover and store them for a few days. So until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.